So basically, there are hundreds of things. The first one which comes to my mind is the "chalta hai" attitude in India. I'm sure you know. In English, it would be being casual, a casual approach to anything you do, and that's really not a good thing to have. Because I've seen a lot of people stumble just because of that, whether they're in their growth or in their day-to-day life. So that's something we should avoid as much as we can. There are times you have to use it, but it should be very rare moments.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Angry Coach. Today, I am extremely delighted to have Mr. Sudhir Gurtoo along with us in this conversation. Mr. Gurtoo is a mechanical engineer by profession. He's worked across the industries, starting his career with Tata Motors, leading all the way to being amongst the first employees at General Motors in India, and then leading Leadec in India as its managing director and CEO. Sudhir, welcome to the show, Our Angry Coach.
Thank you, Vivek.
As we get started, I have a question for you, Sudhir. And my first question to you is, what makes you angry?
Oh. I should smile first, right? Okay. So basically, there are hundreds of things. The first one which comes to my mind is the "chalta hai" attitude in India. I'm sure you know. In English, it would be being casual, a casual approach to anything you do, and that's really not a good thing to have. Because I've seen a lot of people stumble just because of that, whether they're in their growth or in their day-to-day life. So that's something we should avoid as much as we can. There are times you have to use it, but it should be very rare moments.
The chalta hai attitude of people in the
Yes,
industry is something that makes you angry. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Can
So
you
if I want to elaborate, I could give you some examples from my past. So let's see, even this time I was changing jobs from the first to the second, and I joined an American car company. So we were taking over in a manufacturing plant shed from another partner, and we walk into that plant shed which was lying kind of dead, unused for last 8-10 years. So now we are going into that, and there's a small team waiting there, two managers and two kind of helpers. The huge shed, and they open up the shed, and we walk in. So what we notice is it's a nice clean floor, but there are a lot of pigeon feathers, pigeon droppings, which are irritating. So it's so I asked the manager who was there. So he said, "Oh, we clean it every day, but these pigeons who have come on the trust level just don't go." So I tried to quiz him further. Why don't you do something? Because it's a shut plant, right? It's not a live. I tried even to show a few window openings where glass panels are broken. So I realized there are 3 or 4 holes or glass missing conditions in that huge shed. If they could just have fixed it, they could have not only saved uh, and made a clean floor look, they could have saved cleaning cost of daily cleanup instead of not working on the root cause and accepting the chalta hai sweep karte raho attitude. Anyway, so that was one, but there are lots more I can share, and I'm sure we'll have better things to talk about.
I think that's such a fair observation and question. It is something like every day the pigeons come, and while we are putting the effort, but every day the pigeons are coming. And as a leader, what's going on in your mind is, so why don't you attack the root cause?
Yes.
Why not plug it? I mean, why not close those openings? Why not like investigate as to why pigeons are coming and then stop that?
Yeah.
What do you think is leading to this? I mean, why does our country have so much of this chalta hai attitude? And I've seen it at so many places as well. And I'm curious about this phenomena.
So I think one is it starts from the top, the very top. I mean, even people up there, even in the political world, in the industry world, in our schools, what we have seen, even in our family heads, they are accepting things which are substandard. They have seen that. We have seen that while we grow up in schools, colleges, society. So I think we tend to accept this as a way of life, and probably education otherwise is not given to us. Maybe in the school curriculum, like in American schools, I see they teach about how to handle life, how to behave, the ethics, all that. That I think is missing in Indian curriculum. I would strongly urge whoever is listening to look at that as an option. Even 1 hour in a week, if we could add in school curriculums, how to behave, how to. There's so many things which could be taken up in this. Like Modi ji is doing a great job for hygiene, for saving the girl child, for respecting the women. All these, I think, could be in that 1 hour a week curriculum, which could be added someplace in life.
This is very interesting. So, what you're highlighting is, hey, at the very beginning of the entire professional journey, at the very beginning, we start building this attitude of chalta hai. How can
Yes.
I just get past?
Yes.
Let me just do that much of homework or that much of work that my teacher will not say I've done a bad job or I've not done it. So let me just submit something. And even in our homes, even in other places, that generational curse, which they say, kind of continues, and we just try to get by. And that in turn creates a certain set of habits which sustain us, and we start seeing the impact even at work.
Very well summarized, Vivek. I think you said it. That's where we need to look at. And I could share another example on, besides this, what we need to also look at within us, the Indian, that same training session, which I call ethics or 1 hour session a week, could also include reduction of focus on cost. We have too much cost focus orientation in India from day one. So we'll go haggle with every guy on the street. Kela, why 10 rupees? Why not 8 rupees ka de do? The poor fellow is selling in the street in the heat some bananas. We'll try to save that 1 rupee for ourselves, not realizing it's not doing any good for the whole society as such. I won't lose much if I give him 1 rupee extra, but we're making him suffer. And this, another example I like to share is from sourcing table. Sourcing table is a purchasing table where purchasing people and technical people sit on one side. Other side, you have the vendor sitting. So I have a chance to be on sourcing tables in India as well as in Germany and abroad, sitting on the sourcing table on the OEM side, not on the vendor side. So there, what I see is when I see it sat on an Indian table. Let's say if there's a mug here. I'm trying to buy this mug from a vendor, right? We are negotiating. The Indian purchasing guy on this side will ask, "Hey, kitne ka hai?" It's not yet physical shape. It's still sketchy and papers. So what you see, I'm just giving example. So he will they'll say, "Kitne ka hai?" So that guy will start quoting some price. It's say 20 rupees. He'll say, "Nahi, bahut zyada hai." Whatever he says, bahut zyada hai. Standard I've seen purchasing guy reaction. It's a habit. I've also sat on German tables. Same. Let's talk of the same cup. You will not believe they'll not talk of pricing at all till the last 5 minutes. If it's a 1 hour session, 55 minutes you'll not hear of any rupee price, nothing at all. So you'll wonder what happens then. So he'll be talking, okay, what is the consistency between each cup you'll maintain, size variations, which Indian purchasing doesn't think about. What is this, let's say this red lining? How is it harmful to the system? Will it erode with hot water and go into my lungs? Or sorry, digestive system? What is this print you have? Is it a good ink or it's environmentally bad? What is the micron thickness of this coating? Will it come out in 1 month or will it last a year? Will it rub off with hot water or with some surf? They'll throw those questions, and I was aghast. Certainly technical bombardment, and in the last they'll say, okay, what's the pricing you're looking at? And then they'll also talk maybe if it's high, if it's not high, they'll just let go. It's okay, we'll come back. Hell of a difference in the sourcing tables. Hell of a difference. I can't even share in 2 minutes.
I think that's such a profound observation. First of all, I loved how you brought the fundamental way we look at value. for us to look at value is just a haggling on the price. So the
That's it.
bananas example is so apt. I think I would have seen my parents do something very similar when I was a young child, which is I might have a certain look at the quality, but whatever it is, I will try to reduce the price by a rupee or a 2 rupees or whatever is possible, right?
Yes,
And my
yes,
fundamental definition of value is low cost,
yes, yes.
right? My fundamental belief is if I get it at a lower price, I have won, and everything becomes that about winning with lower cost. But what you're also, and what you're trying to tell me is this focus, this extraordinary focus on pricing from very early childhood makes us focus less on the quality, makes us focus less on the value, but more on the pricing of it. We ignore all the other elements. Whereas if I look at somebody else who's like, for example, known for quality, they'll do a lot of focus on value. They'll focus, what do I actually getting? Is it really going to make a difference to my consumer? And then they'll come to the pricing of it.
And that's why we have a lot of failures in industry. Like now the car industry has come of age in India. If you
Right.
go back a decade or so, there'll be quality failures, noises in the car, rattling, air conditioning, condensers leaking, and squeaking and vibrations, and the sound of the road will come into the chamber.
Correct.
So all that, if you go back, because the component design is not thoroughly challenged or vetted by the OEM himself, he accepts because the purchase is focused on some kind of a low cost. He'll tell, oh, my competition is giving me so cheap. How can I pay so high? So his focus is how to get it cheap. The purchase will even promise wrong big volumes. Oh, we are a company. I'll be giving you 200,000 cars a year, which will never come. He'll promise anything to get the low cost at the cost of the technicals, as you rightly said, the value. So value is tossed around, and cost is the victory element.
I would completely agree with you. I think one of the first lessons I had like this was I was young manager with Procter,
Okay.
and we were in a similar sourcing conversation with one of our suppliers. And, being the young, aggressive Indian, I wanted to make sure I create the right impact. And I kept focusing on, Are, aur kitna kam karoge, aur kitna kam karoge. And I very well remember one of my manager really pause me and say, Vivek, acha pehle value dekhte hain kya hai. What's the value? What are we trying to get? Will
Yes.
it be effective in terms of what we're trying to create for our consumers? And then we can come to the cost aspect of it, which might actually be inconsequential if you look at it from a consumer's perspective. So a lot of focus over there. Also, I noticed a lot of passion for the work that is being done. So, for example, what I am creating, a lot of pride in what I am creating.
Right.
Right? It's not I am doing a job. It is I am creating something that the rest of the world will start using. So, hey, I am responsible for this product.
Yeah.
A lot of that started coming in, and it actually elevated me to a next level. I kind of paused negotiating with the street vendors from then on.
The right way to go, Vivek.
Is it also a function of the state at which your economy or country is? For example, today I'm a lot more lenient with paying certain money, right? It's not very consequential for me. Even if I give somebody 100 rupee extra, it's not very consequential for me. But when I was very young, it was very consequential for me, right? I would try to kind of scrape. So is there a function of the state of economy or the amount a person earns? You can, for example, afford to be relatively liberal now versus perhaps when you were just in your DCE days.
I would attempt not to agree, Vivek.
Okay.
I would not go with that logic
Hmm.
because even today I see people who are very rich, they still haggle like crazy. Even today, I see them, and I feel so sad. There's some friends I have, ultra rich people, but they'll haggle for the air ticket, for saving that last 100, or they'll not like to pay that convenience fee which is being asked for, 200 rupees, 100 rupees convenience fee. Or they'll haggle for every possible term and condition of the ticket. Where possible, they'll haggle, and if you see the bank accounts, you'll be shocked. So I don't think it's really that. It's a state of mind. I think Indian curriculum, as I said, has missed this. And to be honest, I see the new government is trying to add all this back somewhere. Even taking pride in the flag, you know, I mean, 20 years back, there's no pride in our Indian nation by us. Now we are at least proud of our country, our flag, you know, that has been opened up. You can use the flag more easily, like in US or elsewhere. So things are now changing. I come actually from a Kashmir state. There, the 370 thing which is happening. So all that gives me a moment of big, as you said, pride. It's a moment of pride to get to see the, I call it corrections, which are happening now. But these could as well have happened a few decades earlier.
You're right. It's a state of mind.
It's a state
And
of
echo
mind.
your thoughts. I think I have seen people battle for 50 rupees, even though the bank balance is so much more as
Yeah.
compared to just that tiny amount. And it makes a difference to the person in front of you versus to you. So I think
Yeah.
that's a very fair point. And thank you so much for highlighting this. Also, completely echo your point on national pride, which is now building up versus what it was earlier. And this pride translates into better quality of work that everybody puts in.
Absolutely. Now, even acceptance in when I go abroad, people now started to look up to India. So they are recognizing us, and they're saying, "Oh, India is a country to reckon with. That's the future." Now, after China, it's India. So this all has happened in the recent years, and that's a good welcome change. Even the G20 I was watching on TV, it's a moment of pride to just watch that whole event
Yes.
in Delhi.
Yes. So true.
And with and we could hear the vibrations in Pune where the G20 in Pune happened, kind of a low scale one.
Correct.
So across the country, the G20 has been felt thoroughly, giving us a
Correct.
proud moment.
Very fair point. Sudhir, I'm going to shift our focus from this onto your growth journey in your profession. Um, I know you started off as a young engineer in the automotive sector. You've probably seen the automotive sector grow from what it was way back in the 80s to being an employee with General Motors, first employee with General Motors, practically setting up that organization in this country. And then today, as you uh, head Leadec in their services in the country. How has your journey been?
So journey, yes. As you rightly said, I started with a stable, large group in India, and that time that group was seen like if you join, you'll retire from there. That was the thinking. You join that time, no more, I guess. So even I thought I'll be here, but after about 7-8 years or so in that group, uh, I realized there's more to it than just being stuck with one place. And it was a chance in call with the American uh, from who was from this American car company, and he was looking for someone first startup team, let's say. So he invited me in that. It was a tough decision initially because I thought here I'm leaving a giant car company and joining someone who's not existing yet in India. There's no car from them. There's nothing. There's no manufacturing plant yet at that point. And just it was just two guys who came and in a hotel room they were holding kind of interviews. So it was a tough decision in one way, but this American convinced me that this is the world to get into. Look at our products, and he convinced me the Indian products need to be hugely bettered over time. The practices have to be bettered. So you must come here, learn as well as help us. So that was a jump I took from that large Indian company to this American company who was coming into India to set up the plant. So I think that was a good decision I took in retrospect. At that point, many of my friends said, "No, why should I change? I'm happy where I am." So basically, it's a little of risk taking one has to do to get out of your comfort zone, take a risk, which I did take at that point. And within few months of my joining, there's chance this company would be closed because the Bombay blasts happened, and the Americans out there in Detroit were very nervous whether this is the right decision we are taking. So it was suspended for a few months. So it could have gone the wrong way. It was a risk I took, which I believe paid off. And then the other move I made from there to this company, a German one now, is because I was on a plateau in the American company. I'd reached the, let's say, below the CEO level, but I was hanging there uh, for many long time. So I knew the CEO typically has to be coming from either America or blessed by the school boys club and blah blah. So I thought I'll not make it there. So again, it was interesting. I got a call from my ex boss in that American company in America, who was approached to start this company incidentally. So he was asked, you know, some Indians because he worked in India. So he referred my name. So came to join this as a kind of new startup. So I had a chance to have two startups, not the startup you hear now, digital startups, real manufacturing startups kind of. So the company, which was car company, where we had nothing at all when I joined, just a small office in a hotel, Maurya Sheraton, then in Delhi. And,
Wow.
and from there, it was two large plants, which later came up. And in this company also, when I joined, there's no office, not even an office. So we first took an office. There's two expats who had come, one from America and one from Germany, who had arrived, and again in hotels. And now we have about 3,300 employees across India in the last 12 odd years I'm here. Yeah. So I'll say in short, take decisions with courage, take risk, take calculated gambles, not only gamble, and do be sincere, be disciplined. I think that discipline is another one. If you allow me 1 minute, I'd like to share. So discipline is a multi-faceted word, but one or two facets, maybe one I'll share with you is time management. That I had to unlearn and relearn when I got into the second company and then the third one. Because as we see in India, the time, we see it as stretchable time. Again, chalta hai is part of it. So once I was called for dinner by this German CEO. So he said, let's meet at 8 o'clock. So I said, okay. Again, Indian dinner means 8 means anytime after 8. Right? When someone calls us, come for dinner 8 o'clock, we normally don't reach till 8:30.
True.
Otherwise, वो इतना time पे जाएंगे तो वो क्या सोचेगा? खाली
True.
बैठे.
True.
So I reached at 8:10. My God, he was furious.
Hmm.
So I had to unlearn my practices. So now I realize 8 dinner means 7:59 for a German. And same for meetings. When we conduct our meetings, guys are on times. 8 o'clock means 7:59 is there. So you have to be there at 7:59 as well. So same culture I've tried to bring here as well, where even we have started, since Indians still don't come on time. We had a NGO pot, I call it. So anyone coming even 2 minutes late puts 50 rupees in that pot, which goes to some relief fund, like blind
Right.
relief fund. The money goes there. So that's helped to bring the time discipline in people. But this again, those young managers must be very cautious of Indian time scenario, especially when dealing with foreigners, whether Japanese or Germans. In fact, again, in Japan, I was in this Isuzu building. I was visiting them from India, and suddenly at 5:45, these Japanese across the table start to wind up their files and pack, and I didn't know what's happening. I thought some earthquake or some message has come. They have to leave. Suddenly they said, no, we have to leave. I said, yeah, that I can see. I'll also wrap. But I was thinking we'll go to dinner straight from here at 7:30 or something. Said, no. 6, the lights will be shut out in this whole tower, Suzu Tower. I said, why? So that's a rule, boss rule. You have to leave on time, come on time, and not drag time. So they had to get out, otherwise you can't get out of the building. It's lights out. So again, that culture also I'm trying to bring here, not to allow people to work too late, not necessarily sitting and toddling and trying to show I'm working. So the time stretches to fill the work available in India. That should be avoided.
Very true. Time stretches to fill the available work stretches to fill the available time in our country.
Yeah. So basically, you just drag your feet and go slow. knowing that I'll sit till 9 o'clock in the night, versus I leave at 6. You have to finish and leave at 6. So it's a
And in a lot of
mindset.
cases, sorry, in a lot of cases लोग ये भी बोलते हैं मतलब कि घर जाके करूंगा क्या, you'll end up in a fight with your wife or something else. So versus that, it's better to stay in the office and then reach home when things are
Dinner भी free मिल जाता है कई बार.
correct.
So,
That's a
for
fair
bachelors,
point.
that's another plus. I've seen
That's
in the
another
plant
plus.
environment I was in, people used to stay back because they'll have dinner at 7:30, whatever time it is served, then leave. But then
And
they
then
don't
leave.
have to worry about their dinner if they're bachelors, especially.
Oh, so true. So true. I hear you. I think these are some great points. I love the time concept that you were talking about, which is in the Indian case, sometimes it becomes stretchable time, right? And and in some cases, I've seen people also use it as a matter of pride. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm running a little behind on everything. And what I'm hearing from you, it's actually a discipline thing and not so much of a busyness thing. People
Mindset.
can It's a mindset once again of
Yeah.
okay, I've got to cut this at this time and then let me schedule the next one and be over there punctually. You also mentioned two very interesting things and I'm not going to leave them untouched upon. I think the first thing that you mentioned was take courageous bets or take thought through bets. You've practically been taking these bets your entire life. I can only imagine in the early 90s leaving a Tata kind of a brand onto something which nobody even would have heard about at that particular time in the country, right? Internationally, of course, General Motors is General Motors, but in India, at least, nobody would have known about that. How did your parents talk about that? How did you build the courage to take this step? What were the conversations like there?
So basically, when I went to meet this American in the hotel, I also thought I'm just going to have a chat with him, a coffee with him. I honestly did not believe I'll end up. But honestly, he did a good job in selling his products and his company to me, and indicating to me that you're in a large ocean. It's better to be in a small pond. Better to be fish in a small pond, small fish in a small pond, rather than a big fish in a large ocean. In a small pond, you get noticed. So some things which he spoke appealed to me. So when I came back, I told my wife and parents, I'm planning to join this company. They were shocked, they were shell shocked, as you rightly said, because no one leaves a big job and ventures into some company which is not yet, there's nothing except a small hotel office.
Correct.
So you're right, it was a gamble of risk, courageous risk, and which did pay off. True.
Were there any dialogues you had with yourself? Was there any build up of okay, this is important for me, or
No, the only dialogue I thought, worst case, what will happen if this company does not come, crashes in say 1 year? I can always get back to some other job in India. May not be the first job, even though my boss there did say, if you're in trouble, call me. But I said, I'll probably not call him. I'll look for another job. That's the only thing which I took as a side umbrella.
got it? So you were saying, hey, the upside is so much more bigger to create
Yes,
an impact. And
yes,
should it not work out, it's not the end of life for me right
yes,
there. You had that optimistic thought, okay, I can make something else work out for me. You had that confidence within your own self.
yes, yes. I said, I've done my education. I worked in a big company, so I should get another job if this one doesn't go through.
I have
Yeah,
another job if this one doesn't work through.
I can get.
And did that same mindset work with you as you were moving uh, from this organization to the next one?
So here it was a little different because here I was on a plateau. So I was on, let's say, I knew that's it. So if I had to move, if I ever wanted to be a CEO, it'll probably be another company. So, and once you're in a position long enough, you're looking out how you can be higher up, be a top of the pyramid basically. So to get to top of the pyramid, I knew in where I was in the previous company, I will not be at the top of that pyramid. So for that, I joined this, and which was again referred to me by my ex-boss. So that way, it was a little safe since he was referring. and I knew him well as my boss for 3 years in the past company. So I could rely on him.
Very interesting. So you felt you've achieved a plateau, and you highlighted this. The CEO in that organization needs to have a certain background credentials attached to them, the right badges, the right schools, etc. And you felt that you've hit a plateau, and you've got to take a significant step elsewhere. I do find
Yes.
a lot of our professionals also in the same stage, right? Um, uh, Career plateau is a real thing, or a glass ceiling, so to speak of, is a real thing. Sudhir, I'm curious, what would your advice be to professionals who feel they're stuck or stagnant in their careers?
So one is don't accept that stagnation. Start looking out. Start reaching out to your old bosses. That's one way you could networking. If you have some networking, and today it's so easy. The digital world, WhatsApp, all this LinkedIn, Facebooks. You can easily reach out to people whom they know you. Let's say you may have worked with some bosses earlier, and they may be somewhere else. You may not be in touch with them past 5 years. It's okay, but you can still reach out on LinkedIn, on these various platforms. If you know that guy, you can even drop an email to him, or through the consultants. That's a second option. So you have to try it out. Otherwise, if you just think that someone will come and give me something, that may not happen, and you'll continue stagnating. So you have to try, and you have to swim. If there's a river, you have to swim to cross it. You can. Second option, wait for a boat which will come and pick you up. Could be a very very long wait. So I'll suggest swim. Don't wait for the boat, which is not to be seen around.
That's a very fair thought. I think the thing that you're saying is, don't accept status quo. Don't accept that you're stuck.
Yes. Yes.
And you have to move. You might be
Yes.
fortunate that a boat comes and picks you up, and that's a lucky break for you. But if you really want to break yourself, A, you have to decide, and then B, you have to take some specific
Initiative.
action, networking, connection, use digital platforms which are already available to move yourself out.
Yes.
It's a very fair advice. It's a very, very fair advice, Sudhir. Anything else that you'd like to add to this one?
So other than that is even within the company you are in, you could look out if it's a multinational. You could see if there's some option to go to another country in that same company. These days, a lot of companies are becoming MNCs, including Indian MNCs. So that's one way to get out of that environment, and you could come back charged or as a head higher level as well. Sometimes it works. So if you happen to be in a company which has some other country existence, also tap into that option if it exists. I've seen that work for many people who have been in even Indian companies. Some, I don't want to name them, but some Indian friends in Indian auto companies who have taken a posting for that Indian company abroad, and it helped them. So think of those options as well.
So there are multiple options. You can look
Yes,
within your own organization. You can look at so many other factors. But the important aspect is to be visible.
correct. Be connected initiatives. Take initiatives to be visible on the platform, to your ex bosses, to jobs through consultancies. Yes.
And if I go back to my very old days, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai,
Yeah.
is always a phenomena that is present. Got it.
Very true.
So, Sudhir, it's been such a fantastic conversation with you, and I see that we're already over the time significantly. But before I let you go, I'm going to invite you for a couple of advice elements, right? To a person who is starting his career, right, early phases of career, uh, what would your core advice be?
So for a guy who's starting, initial phase has to be learning. He must accept that. Normally, people start in year one, they're looking for growth. That I would say is unfair on your part. First 3 years, wherever you join, if you're joining in sales, and if you're posted on a field job, learn the field job first. Run around to villages, and learn what's happening down there. If you're joining a manufacturing world, be in the plant shop floor. Don't look for air conditioned office from day one, which is more tempting and more easy to be with. Accept the hard life in the first 2 to 3 years. But that learning will help you all through your life. You can always look back on that learning, whether it's a fields job in a sales environment or a manufacturing production type of job in a rough production environment. Accept that wherever you are. Do the donkey work in the initial years. Today, people skip that. They love to skip that. They'll say, "Oh, I want the air-conditioned Google, Yahoo type offices, Microsoft and the blah blah." So the manufacturing and these jobs have lost their glory. But there's a lot of learning if you're getting into these kind of jobs, which help you in your life also.
So first part is learning. Just invest in learning.
Yes.
Don't search for an air-conditioned office. Step out into the market. See the way business is actually getting done. Tag yourself to somebody else who can take you around, and just learn. Just internalize versus just asking for growth every 6 months.
Absolutely.
And growth comes to you. It's not something you ask for or you can keep demanding.
Exactly.
Or
so if you have the experience to bank upon, you'll be able to give good advice in the latter years using your initial learning time zone.
It's a very fair point. Thank you for sharing this. For a person who is at a mid-senior level and looking at the next stage, what would your advice be?
So mid to a senior job is where the pyramid starts to shrink rapidly. That's where trouble starts. Here you have to stand out from the crowd somehow. So you'll have maybe your colleagues. You have to be better than them to get noticed somehow within your organization, to get picked up for the thinner part of the pyramid. And the best way is to make your presence known somehow. Could be a better presentation, could be something you bring to the table which is required in the office. And let's say you start a hobby which even the CEO joins, and some kind of a side thing where the whole office now knows, oh, that guy, he's great in this. Could be just conducting quiz for the whole group, anything like that. So he gets known and sticks out amongst his colleagues, and then he enters that thinner pyramid upwards.
So what I'm hearing from you is from mid to senior, this is a time when a person has to start thinking of unique differentiators for self.
Yes.
It could be in any space, but this is a time where you've got to see how are you differentiating yourself from what everybody else is doing. Because clearly, as you rightly mentioned, the pyramid starts shrinking a lot at this phase.
Yeah, true.
And it could just be a hobby. It could be something you start in the organization. It could be your work differentiator. It could be your hobby differentiators. But some differentiator has to come in. And that will help you get recognized.
You get noticed with that something. Yeah.
And what about from a senior level, let's say to the C-suite? What would be an advice?
That's where the toughest things happen, because the pyramid is now a single point.
Correct. It's like a single line that now goes up, right?
So now you're just one single point up there, right? Down there, it's a large pyramid. So that's where it gets tough, and a bit of luck always also plays a role. But one is being highly ethical, high integrity, good communication, good presentation, helping others. All these tips, if you are able to manage, being on time in meetings, trying to do that something extra for the group, getting noticed, all that then comes to help you to get pushed to the pinnacle, top point.
So you're saying the years and decades of work that you've put in, the equity that you start getting established on, start coming to play over here. So you've got to be recognized for a certain set of values, discipline, time, differentiators. And that is the place where one or two unique elements start standing out.
Correct. Even one of them, if it's failing, let's say not on time in meetings, some board guy will kill you. Oh no, that guy is always late, and he'll spoil the company. So he'll kill your candidature for the seat. So be careful on integrity, compliance, all these basics as you are at the top trying to reach to the very top. And as I said, a bit of luck always is there. Because sometimes the seat falls vacant, and now they're looking out for someone. And sometimes the seat is blocked badly. That
Correct.
is luck within that organization. Then you
Correct.
have to look out of the organization.
Correct. Correct. It's a very fair thought. Sudhir, for your time, for your thoughts, thank you so much. I think it's been a fantastic conversation. We've gone fairly overboard the time, but such fantastic insights that you've shared with us. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you.